pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon 4.0. And now for this little part here in the Vlog-A-Thon 4.0, I kind of feel like that, well, I'm just taking the sweater off and then putting it back on every now and then, just having the long sleeve exposed for the world to see, but, I mean, weather patterns seem to be changing around, and I feel like that my body temperature is just heavily compensating for all of these sudden changes that seem to be happening here. But anyways, throughout this long stretch of vlogs, this is in fact going to be a pretty big importance, especially when it comes to finding different subjects to talk about. But I feel like I probably should touch base with Hot Wheels hilarity for some time now, so that's probably what I'm going to be doing. The next vlog or so after this is pretty much going to be centered on HWH-based content and variety and anything else that surrounds this franchise of mine. Of course, you probably would know by now that Hot Wheels hilarity is over 2 years old at this point. After quite a while of simply looking at different Hot Wheels related content that people have been putting up online, channels like Ghost Jerker, Race Screws, and plenty of others here and there, they were all able to give us some great content to watch and plenty of good competitions and the like. And so here on Kaiji Force Neo is where Hot Wheels finally come into action with Hot Wheels hilarity. And it's basically a series of mine that I've pretty much adapted from the likes and inspiration and creativity of some of those content creators that I've mentioned already, plus a lot more. Also, given to the fact that we haven't had really much good Hot Wheels related pop culture like television programs and feature films, we haven't had much that was good since, well, Highway 35, pretty much. That is still one of my favorite continuities in the Hot Wheels, well, media output at this point. But I do also like some of the others here and there, like Beat That, World's Greatest Driver, Velocity X, Maximum Justice, and some others here and there. I mean, Hot Wheels related stuff as a whole is still around quite a bit. I mean, with the adaptation of Hot Wheels City, it just goes to show that the legacy of the famous die-cast toy that we know is never going to end. And it will always be around for generations to come. And maybe forever, but I feel like talking a little bit about Hot Wheels hilarity based on different episode ideas and picks that I generally would consider utilizing to the best of my ability. So this way, when it comes time to be able to put an HWH episode onto my channel, then well, there's always a possibility that I might want to try something new. And with that, I'll explain for a few minutes a couple things that I feel like I might try and do, because there have in fact been many different ways that I was able to tackle on to the previous 4 seasons of Hot Wheels hilarity in the mainline series, and not to mention with layout shoutouts and colossal clashes and sometimes others here and there. I feel like that I have managed to get tons of different layout varieties and options of different stunt kits and obstacles that each car utilize on the layouts. And I feel like that all this time, since July 2018, it really has been turning up pretty well. I guess my voiceover skills have also heightened up pretty well because, well, it seems by now that you can already tell that at this point, I'm getting close to premiering Season 5 of the mainline series itself, which, again, will be beginning on January 1st, 2021. If there's a couple that I can pretty much disclose right this moment, then, well, there is in fact going to be a likelihood for me to have multi-part episodes, kind of like what I've been doing in the last season or two. And it's mainly because of the fact that, well, in case creativity or any other ideologies basically plunder down to a point where I cannot even think straight, then well, That's basically where the convenience of having a multi-part will come in. As a matter of fact, there's a likelihood that Season 5 alone will have quite a few of them. And it's mainly because of the fact that, well, I mean, some layout ideas are kind of difficult to put together. And it's primarily because I have a limited amount of different locations that I can set up at. And it's also because of the fact that, well, there just doesn't seem to be that much time for me to, well, simply get together and try to find a way to work all this out. And not to mention, there are in fact lots of other things that I also want to put my mind towards, and not just to Javi's hilarity. Let's also not forget the fact that I do have business elsewhere. Javi's hilarity ideas are pretty much just an episode away. And at a time where I can possibly put something like this together, it wouldn't be difficult, but I wouldn't say that it would be easy, for the most part. But I'm pretty much just saying at this point that Javi's hilarity might be a bit difficult to handle by today's standards. Even though it has been a bit easy for me these last 2.5 years, there's just no telling exactly what might actually end up happening. Of course, I will do what I can for seasons 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and maybe even 10. Yeah, I actually do want to go that far into HWH before I even make a consideration as to whatever possibilities I could probably end up with. But there are in fact going to have to be a lot of times where I'm going to want to put stuff together. There's only so many layout combinations that I can possibly do in a certain way until it feels repetitive in most ways. But by today's standards, I can at least agree with myself that HWH is certainly getting a lot better as time goes on, especially because it's sharpening up my voiceover skills and, well, making my voice sound a lot more professional rather than it being more shy, quiet, and kind of abrasive. Of course, I cannot really say that it would be perfect, but I can at least be sure that by today, the HWH voiceovers that I'll be providing are going to sound way more crisp and way more refined and a lot more better this way than it would have been back in July 2018 because, well, there were a lot of times that I've had a lot of people around, and while I was recording voiceovers, I couldn't really have anything to, well, block off any background noise, such as those foam pads, which are supposed to protect against acoustic waves, especially from the outside for the most part. I don't necessarily have my own recording studio of any sorts based on this particular sort of design scheme, but in case if I do find a way to construct something of that sort, then, well, I guess I'll find out. There's actually a good likelihood that I'll also get myself a better mic and maybe even a windscreen of some sort, but I guess we just have to let time pass by until that happens. But anyways, Javi's Hilarity Season 5 is still coming pretty soon, and I can at least be sure that things are going to be turning out just fine as time itself goes on. And hopefully I can get past Season 5 without much issue or much trouble in any sense of the worry, but until that happens, if you want to see more go down on my channel, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.